everybody. The GM fried their cranial implant and is now sitting comatose on the couch. It's gonna have to get removed, and they're gonna be out of commission for a little while. A couple of missions probably, so session's canceled.
Yeah, he's like drooling into the sofa. Are we gonna do something about him, or?
Nah, you just gotta wait it out. Not much you can do. He is gonna have to get a new one, though. Also, we might need a new sofa. It's getting a little stanky over there.
Yeah, look, dude, half his face is sagging. What do we do?
The Ripper Doc will fix it. It's fine.
I'm not paying for it.
I didn't say I was paying for it. I just said you fix it.
Fair enough.
All right, it's finally time to hit the third of the 4 without number games. Now 4. There was 3 recently. Ashes Without Number just released, so now we're at 4. I don't know if he's gonna stop at 4, but I also don't know what the next game would be, because we got sci-fi, fantasy, cyberpunk, and post-apocalypse. So kind of hit the main ones.
Do a mecha
like what
game
other?
next. Maybe that will cure my ADHD.
I could maybe see that, I guess. I feel like I don't know. Yeah, would he I don't know if he could expand out a whole mecha game just based on, like, there's mecha rules and stars, obviously, but can he whole game that shit? I don't know.
I think so.
Maybe.
Because you can go into like control schemes and then like user interfaces, operating systems, hard points, combat drugs. Yeah. I feel like it would need to have like Gundam Wing vibes.
I don't think you're looking at the right creator for anime vibes.
Here's the thing. Gundam Wing is like the least anime of the Gundams, I feel. It's very like, it's just,
I feel like if Kevin Crawford were to do a mech game, you'd be looking much more BattleTech. You know what I'm saying? Like the grounded real robot type shit.
I don't know. Stars has such a like.
Hold on, that is BattleTech, right? I'm not.
Yeah. BattleTech is real robot. Like that's where you get the Tomcat
vibes.
Yeah, that's where you get like the chicken walkers from. I don't think it would be that. I think it might be something closer to Armored Core. Because it's not Dirt Farmer.
Yeah.
Like it's not so grounded that like fantasy you're a dirt farmer. You know what I mean? Like
that's true. I could see Armored Core.
Which even that, I'm in.
I mean, yeah. I don't think I still think it'd be a little toned down. I don't know. I just feel like tonally he's pulling from older school than that, you know?
Potentially.
I don't know if it's gonna happen. Like I said, we just got Ashes, so who knows what his next project is. But I'm sure it'll be something. But today we speak of Cities Without Number, which is the cyberpunk cousin to the other games. So Stars is our sci-fi game, Worlds is our fantasy game, Cities is our cyberpunk game. And I think Cyberpunk might be the best like genre for the style of game that he does, which I know might seem a little weird because OSR is obviously based on old school D&D, and so a lot of people think of it as fantasy. But I think the way that Kevin Crawford designs these games, the cyberpunk slips on there real easy, you know? It just fits the sandbox vibe, the gear, I feel like it just fits so easily. There's also already a lot of cyberpunk stuff in Stars as like optional side rules type content.
True. That's kind of why I feel like Stars is the best iteration of it. I feel like there aren't enough sandbox style sci-fi games. Most of them are try to create some sort of older. Yeah, but nothing contemporary.
Yeah, no, not well. Yeah, nothing contemporary that I can think of.
It's like if you're thinking about, you know, there's Wrath and Glory, which is Warhammer, but that's always going to have an overarching meta plot, right? It can't not. And all the other Warhammer ones like Dark Heresy and Death
well,
Watch
you have like have Starfinder, but obviously that comes from Pathfinder. You have the Star Wars games, but like, you know, that's Star Wars.
Even then, right? Like if you're doing the Empire as the era that you're in, that's gonna have to involve some meta plot.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Maybe Star Trek. I think the Star Trek game you could have just dicking around in the Federation.
Maybe. Either way, I still feel like, I don't know, Cities Without Number, I feel like was such an easy, natural decision to make that it arguably fits the best. I don't know. Maybe not. I haven't read Ashes, I've read bits and pieces of Ashes when it was in beta, so like maybe that one will hit harder. I don't know. Hard to say. So, Cities Without Number. Actually, before we do that, you're all going to take your corpo sanctioned medication that is hitting the subscribe button. Cures all ailments, including cancer.
And any rumors you heard about you getting bone cancer from it? Speculation. Slander.
Purely speculation, yes. For legal reasons, these are both jokes. Yes. Cities Without Number, what's the deal? If you have not heard our episodes on the other Without Numbers games, you're going to probably be a little confused because we're very much not going to talk about the base core systems of this game because they are the same as they were in Stars and Worlds. So if you'd like to know broadly about the base, like the core functionality of the game, yeah, go listen to the Stars episodes. There's 2 of them. So we're going to skip over that shit, and I'm going to reference those other games quite a bit. So if you're a little confused, that might be why. So like I said, Cities is our Cyberpunk soiree. As with before, the design style is basically the same. It is a sandbox game with the same core mechanics as the other Without Numbers games, with a big emphasis on quality GM tools and advice on how to run a sandbox game well / properly, however you want to phrase it. How to run a good sandbox game. I don't even know if we've had this conversation, period, Isaiah, but where do you fall on the paradigm of like fan of Cyberpunk? Like,
I really like
sauce,
Cyberpunk.
not that deep in the, like, yeah.
No, I mean, I'd say I'm pretty deep. Like, you know, I grew up on Ghost in the Shell. I don't think you can get much more Cyberpunk than that. It's a thing where I like Cyberpunk in intense bursts.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't think it can hold the candle to me just being a general sci-fi fan.
Yeah, I don't know. Do I like Cyberpunk more than broad sci-fi? That's a tough one. I'd have to really... I think I like sci-fi with a lot of Cyberpunk themes smooshed in there, you know? Mm-hmm. I think I like it when it leans a little more cyberpunk-y. I would say, like, I'm a decently big fan. I'm not like absorbing everything Cyberpunk, but like I have read Neuromancer and I have read Snow Crash, which are 2 of like the formative books of Cyberpunk as a genre. I mean, Neuromancer being the inventor of the genre and Snow Crash being one of the first high quality satires of the genre that did that thing where it was such good satire, it actually was a better example of the genre than the original genre.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm in a similar boat. I like
the One Punch Man effect.
Yeah. You know, I grew up on, like I said, Ghost in the Shell, standalone complex, and am quite the fan of the Cyberpunk, you know, series. Yeah,
I mean, Cyberpunk, what's his name? Oh God. Yeah, but what's the... Yes, Cyberpunk, the Mike Pondsmith IP. I'm like loosely interested in, you know, like I watched Edge Runners. I know about the game. I've read Cyberpunk, read a little bit, but I'm not like deep in the sauce. I haven't played 2033 or Not 20. That's Metro.
2077.
What's the? No, the older one. The one way before the first incarnation he did. Oh God, what was it called?
Oh, I don't know.
Was the first one just called Cyberpunk? The first one was just called Cyberpunk. The year was 2020. That's what it was. Cyberpunk 2020. Yeah. Anyway, I haven't played that game, although I've heard a lot of people say that game doesn't age particularly well. So which doesn't shock me. A lot of older tabletop games don't age very well.
Hey, watch it. The second edition purists really do be getting loud in the comments. Not ours particularly, but any other part where that
they get loud at a lot of people, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't feel like older editions age well for a lot of games. Anyway. Yeah, okay. So I was just curious where we were both at, like the Cyberpunk thing. I mean, I haven't watched Ghost in the Shell. I'm trying to think what I've done. Would have watched like Cyberpunk anime wise.
I think once you finish, so now that you're done with Samurai Champloo, I think that should be the next thing you watch. A standalone
Ghost
complex.
In the Shell. That is such a jump. Also, listen, I maybe didn't like Samurai Champloo as much as everyone was hoping. So,
I mean, I don't know. I think you probably liked it as much as I did, which is to say, it's very good, but it does suffer from being episodic, and the ending is kind of quick.
Yeah, I have some complicated feelings about Samurai Champloo.
But the opening, 5 episodes are just absolute peak cinema.
The beginning is strong for sure. I stand by Gene. Gene is my boy. My opinion did not change by the end of the show. Gene is cooler than Mugen. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules.
Well, so you know what's funny? I was thinking about this in the car today. Gene is a fascinating case study of he beats Karya in a fair one-on-one fight. Like, he cheats to do it, but he does beat him in a fight.
Yeah.
But the only one Gene can't beat is Mugen, because he just can't figure out Champloo as a fighting style. It just doesn't compute in his head. So it really does do this really fun thing where it's all about the matchup.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get too much down this rabbit hole.
I mean, we can talk about Ghost in the Shell because it is like quintessential Cyberpunk, and I think
Ghost in the Shell is OG, definitely, especially when you're talking about Japan influences of Cyberpunk. Definitely, Ghost in the Shell is pretty quintessential. Although I think, actually, now that hold on, Neuromancer book. When did that first come out?
God, I think the fucking 60s?
Yeah. No, not the... They're making a TV show of Neuromancer?
Bruh.
It's news to me that I just discovered right now. 84. Okay, so actually, yeah. 84. So is Standalone Complex older? Is Ghost in the Shell older?
No, 89.
Oh, okay.
Close.
Real
can
close.
honestly,
Anyway.
given what I know about Neuromancer, you can literally see the Neuromancer in it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But this is the second edition, right? This is second generation sci-fi, you could argue. So it's one of those things where it's like all the sci-fi that came out directly after Dune, you're like, wait the fuck.
Yeah. Well, Neuromancer was originally called just a sci-fi book too. Like the concept of fucking Cyberpunk didn't even exist really.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyway, we're getting distracted. So what's the game itself? All right. So, as with the other without number games, this game starts with character creation. So we're going to start with character creation. It is 90% the same character creation that is in Stars and Worlds, with two notable distinctions. The first notable distinction is every starting character, every PC starts with contacts, and contacts are, they're friends, they're buddies, they're people you have a contact with in some capacity. You describe them, you give them a name, you give them a sentence about what you do, and then a sentence or two about how you met them. And basically the idea is you can call on a contact if you need help with something. And at character creation, you can either have, I think it's two acquaintances or one friend. Basically, acquaintances will help you out, but not go out of their way. Whereas a friend will go a little bit more out of their way, but they're still not gonna take a bullet for you necessarily.
No ride or die at the start, unfortunately.
Yeah, no ride or dies. It also specifically says they'll take on. It says friends will do significant favors and take up substantial personal risk, but expect to be treated as actual friends. So, from a narrative standpoint, you can't just treat them like summoned minions or some shit. The other big character creation change, and this is the really important one, is edges. So, because Cyberpunk doesn't operate on the concept of classes so much and more operates on the idea of archetypes, Cities Without Number this game is actually classless. The other two Without Number games were sort of classless in a way. This one is legitimately classless.
Yes, I did think that was very interesting that they just went whole hog making it a completely classless system. We were kind of talking about that though, right? We were will it get to a point where he just abandons the idea of class altogether? And
no, I mean, yeah. I already knew he did that. I knew he did it in this game, so
I did not. I remember I brought it up. I'm
pretty sure I told you.
I mean, you may honestly, man. My brain's fried. So you may have. I might just be misremembering something.
The point is, yes, it's completely classless. So instead, you get edges. I don't like the name edges really that much, but whatever. Just I don't know. So basically, an edge, you can kind of think of it like a foci, but they're a little more powerful than focus, and they will fill out your character more than a focus will, generally. So for example, one of the edges you can take is hacker, and that's the one that you're going to take if you want to be the group hacker most of the time. There's also one you can take, Killing Blow, which is basically you're the street samurai who's really good at murdering. Or hard to kill if you want to be the opposite, if you want to be difficult to murder. But yeah, so you take an edge, you get a total of 3. You pick 2 edges at character creation, and then you will get a third one at level 5, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, level 5. Also, if you rolled like crap on your stats, you can take the underdog rule where you get, so if all of your attributes, after you roll your attributes, if they total up to a negative, you get a bonus edge.
I did like this a lot.
There is a slight cost. You get this bonus edge, but you cannot improve your attributes at character creation. You can't spend points to improve your attributes at character creation.
I don't think you can do it at all.
You can't do it at all. That's what it was. Yeah. You cannot improve your attributes during character advancements if you get this bonus edge. You can still improve them via things like cyberware or foci, but you can't spend skill points when you level up on them. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a little give and take on that. Those are your big 2 differences for character creation. Those are the main things. Like I said, the rest of it, you have your backgrounds and your foci and your gear and your skills and your attributes. That's all the same shebang. It does briefly mention some skills or some foci could give you like vehicles or gear, and it gives you a budget to operate in if you took one of those focus. But other than that, yeah, you're operating at the same. You have attack bonuses and your saving throws and all that yada yada hoo-ha, so on and so forth. And then, of course, also, starting gear kits, or you can buy gear, so on and so forth. It does all specifically call out languages, which I think did. Stars didn't call out languages, but Worlds did. So
did, yeah.
Then we get to the overall system. So there's not a lot of changes to the core system with cities. But there are a couple of important changes on combat specifically. So the core system is still broadly, roll 2d6, you add an attribute plus a skill against a DC, you have your saving throws, you have to roll over your saving throw score. So if your physical saving throw is 14, you have to beat a 14. You have the game still uses scene timing, and round timing. A round is generally 6 seconds. All that stuff is basically the same. This game does add in mission time, which is basically the dungeon timing system from Worlds, just turned into the mission time, but it's mechanically basically the same thing. But the combat, we do have some extra sauce, and it literally, the book has a little pop-out paragraph for this that specifically says, for Stars Without Number and Worlds Without Number, it says, the combat rules you will be familiar with. There are a couple major differences to keep in mind, and it outlines them for you. So, first one, characters will have both a melee AC and a ranged AC score for your gear. So, you may have gear that is harder for you to get shot at, but easier for you to get stabbed while wearing. This is cool because a big element of Cyberpunk, just as a genre broadly, is fleshing out the idea of gear builds, right? Like Cyberpunk is a lot about what kind of sick gear you have and what kind of like knowledge and shit you have. So by having the split ACs, you can basically further specialize your build where you're like, I'm going to be a character who uses long range weapons only. I'm going to take bonuses to that. I'm going to make sure I have armor that is specifically better against guns than swords. So I'm going to be so awesome if I have a rifle in my hands and distance. As soon as someone gets in my face, I am so fucked.
I also like
and that's
this
very
a lot.
on theme.
Yeah, and I mean, personally, I like this a lot because it adds, I think, a really nice sweet spot for realism that's not infuriating. Because that can be an issue from time to time.
It adds a little bit of customization, but it's not too out of hand. Because it is absolutely the kind of thing that could get out of hand.
Yeah.
The next important one, and this one's a big deal. So I mentioned with Stars and Worlds Without Number that, level 1 characters are decently squishy, but you will level up to the point where you're a pretty thick lad eventually. The wizard or the psychic are still decently squishy, but the other, the warrior or the expert guys, you'll get decently resilient. This is a Cyberpunk game though, which means lethality is quite a bit higher. But it also means there's ways to mitigate the lethality. So armor has hit points or damage soak on it. So, if your armor has 5 HP or whatever, it soaks 5 damage for you during a fight. Now, this depletes during the fight. So if you get hit for 5 or let's say you get hit for 8 damage and your armor has 5 soak, or your gear has 5 armor is how I should phrase it. Your 5 armor is lost. The remaining 3 damage goes over to your character. The 5 armor points are lost for the fight. They replenish once the fight is over. And the idea is that this is representing your luck holding out, like your luck of your gear not breaking on you, basically, because a lot of PCs are referred to as operators in this game. A lot of how operators are justified as being better than normal people in this game is they're just a little bit luckier than normal people. They just have a little bit more on their side. The bullet that should have killed him grazes him. The stab that should have gone into their kidneys just kind of, gets around the edge of their stomach. Their armor holds out when it maybe should have. that's kind of how operators are justified as being better than regular people in this game, because ultimately operators are just normal people in this game. Like, you might have cyberware and shit, but everyone can have cyberware. So it's not like a D&D or a Worlds Without Number situation where you're sort of like magically better. It's like you're a little luckier. You just that tinge more, a tinge luckier,
just built
just
different. Like
you're built. Yeah, you're also just slightly more skilled. Like just a little bit.
I think you really have to sum it up with the simple, I'm just built different.
Yeah, you built different. The operators are built different.
I am just alternatively better.
And then thirdly, there's an added mechanic, which is the trauma target value. So when you're attacked, when you're hit with an attack, you roll a trauma die. If the trauma die of the weapon or the attack of whatever kind beats your trauma target, it is a traumatic hit. You then take multiplicative damage. So, for example,
I don't think I caught that.
Yeah. So, if your trauma value is 6, which is 6 is the default, and then you can modify it with armor or cyberware or foci or whatever. There's lots of ways to modify your trauma target. If someone has a rifle and they shoot you, the trauma die on the rifle is a D8. If they roll an 8, the damage from the rifle, which is 1d10 plus 2, is multiplied by 3.
So it's kind of like exploding dice.
No, it's not exploding dice because it multiplies the final amount.
Right, but it's a similar thing where if you max out, it's kind of... I don't know how else to put it.
It's meaner than explosive dice.
It is, but it's the same idea where you hit a certain number, now there's an extra function.
Yes, now extra shit rolls up. And now you might say, like, okay, how, like... okay, the damage is 3 timed. Is that a lot of damage? You're dead. At level 1,
it's narratively just saying you just got domed. Like,
yeah, like, so at level 1, your normal hit die, if you don't have the hard to kill edge, is a D6. So a D6 plus your con modifier is your starting HP. So you have 7 HP. If someone rolls a traumatic hit with a rifle, you're just done. You're down.
You are cooked.
You're not instantly dead. You're down. You can still revive. Like, someone can still pick you up, but you're downed. So, and then even at higher levels, at level 10, your hit dice are 10d6. So let's say you roll really well, and you have 60 HP. 30 HP from a normal rifle, mind you, completely unmodified standard rifle could do 30 damage. So half your HP at max level from a normal ass gun. Actually, it would be more than that because it'd be a D10 plus 2. So you'd be looking at what, 20, 30,
36,
32, 36. Yeah. Potentially 36 damage. So, yeah, traumatic hits are bad. Now, here's the thing, though, and this is, again, this is to enforce the cyberpunk nature of, like, nobody is a superhuman, right? Shit can go really bad really quickly. But this also applies to the enemies. So you, as a player, if you roll over your trauma die, can just dome a really dangerous NPC in a single shot if you get lucky. So it does go in both directions. And there are ways to also modify your trauma damage too. Like, there are like cyberware and shit that can modify that. So, you know, it can be, the lethality is high on both ends of the spectrum. Or both sides of the field, I should say.
Yeah, you hit hard, and then you get hit really hard.
Yeah. The last big combat change is this game has permanent injuries. So if a target who has taken a traumatic hit during the fight reaches 0 HP, you roll for a traumatic injury. Not, just to be clear, not if the traumatic hit downs you, if you've taken a traumatic hit at all. So even if you get a traumatic hit, but the enemy rolled really bad on the dice, like maybe they rolled a 1 on their die, so the traumatic hit is only like 3 or 4 damage. You didn't take a lot of damage, but if you go down, that traumatic hit turns into a permanent injury. So getting traumatic hit can have lasting consequences.
Right,
also.
and I was a little unclear about that. So, like, for example, if you roll the traumatic injury, right leg ruined, you can crawl at best when stabilized.
Yeah.
It doesn't say how to, like, some of these say how you fix it, right? Brain damage. You're in a coma until you get...
Cyberware.
Any limb cyberware?
Cyberware.
Oh, yeah, there. Sorry. How did I miss that? It's right below the fucking table.
I don't know. But yes. So you can take lasting injuries, but because it's a Cyberpunk game, you can replace it with basic cyberware. You can also just get, like, basic prosthetic cyberware. It doesn't have to necessarily be like fancy robo leg. It could just be prosthetic leg, you know?
Yes, it will still reduce your system strain though.
It will take up system strain, yes. And it does, you know, you do have to pay for it and all that other shit. So like basically getting shot in the leg is a bad time. But you're not like, it's not like a D&D situation, or well, D&D is maybe not the best example, but it's not like a fantasy game situation where, oh, I lost my arm and there's not a reliable way to get it back. This is Cyberpunk. You have a very reliable way to get it back. But there is consequence. So again, going back to that idea of operators are just a little bit more lucky, just that tad little bit more skilled than everyone else. You know, you're going through the fight, you take everyone down, you take a traumatic hit, oh fuck, but you make it through the fight. All right, well, I have a cybernetic leg, I'm back again. You know, so it's brutal, but it has that push and pull. Like, yes, it can be bad, but you can also mitigate the bad. There's always there's a back and forth that you can do, that you can access pretty reliably. Obviously, you know, eventually you will just like have too much shit, but by that point you're all cybered up and fucked up and your character's probably not long for the world anyway. There is a small chance you instantly die from a major injury. If you roll, it's a D12. If you roll a 1, you do instantly die.
Yeah.
Which I think, what percentage is that?
12. You're looking at.
Yeah, because a D20 would be 5%.
7 point. Either 7.5 or 7.25.
That sounds right.
Because if you have a 30%, so if it's a D3, you'd have a 30% chance. D6, you've got a 15%
D12,
chance, 15
die.
point. 15 point something percent chance, and you half that again to a D12, so 7.5.
8%.
8%. All right.
We're close. 8%. 8.3 repeating percent. What you're looking at. So yeah. So there is an 8% chance, but keep in mind, that's an 8% chance after you've taken a traumatic hit and you've gone down. Right? So you have to take the traumatic hit, which is already a chance, not guaranteed. Then you have to go down after taking the traumatic hit. Then you roll on the major injury and potentially instant die. So it's not likely to happen, but it can happen. And then once you're out of the fight, that traumatic hit, the traumatic hit thing resets. It doesn't carry from fight to fight. All this is saying, the point I'm making at, the game is like mean, but fair in its meanness for the most part.
It's a bit like Kane in that way, where there's like a... Yeah. It goes back to the perceived difficulty versus practical difficulty. Like, you can get mulched in this game, but there are enough safety nets for you to not do that immediately.
Yes, and this is also not even accounting for, again, edges and foci and gear and other cyberware, and there's all sorts of ways to modify a lot of these numbers. Also, if you have a cybernetic arm and you roll a major injury and it hits your arm, well, it was already a cybernetic arm anyway, you could just repair it.
Right.
So there's that element to it too. So there's lots of different elements going on here. In terms of other, all the rest of the combat stuff is everything you've come to expect. You have your combat actions, you have main action, on turn, instant action, that's all the same, shock damage, initiative, covering and positioning and modifiers and all that, dual wielding rules, execution attacks, all that shit's still there. Nothing to say, we've already talked it to death from the other games. Healing, also, same deal, all works the same. You do still have system strain in this game. System strain is mostly going to come from cybernetics and poisons or drugs. That's the main way you're going to get system strain, because obviously you don't have psychic characters healing you usually. Although you can implement psychic characters into this game, because all of the without number games can be cross-played with each other. And healing is roughly the same pace as it is in Worlds. Yeah. Then, so then we roll over to vehicle combat. So, vehicles obviously pretty important component to the Cyberpunk genre. And, oh, I lost my spot. The vehicle rules are in Stars. And they are similar, but there's just a couple of little things I wanted to mention here and there. Vehicles do not differ very much from standard ground combat. You roll initiative. Everyone takes their action. The driver has to take an action to keep the car under control. Vehicles have AC. Vehicles have armor. Vehicles can also take traumatic hits. So, just like you can get domed and explode, the vehicle can also get domed and explode. But otherwise, it's all the same vibe. It's assumed in terms of movement that if you're in a vehicle and your opponent's in a vehicle, you're basically keeping pace with each other. If you have 4 passengers sitting in the vehicle, everyone can take their action to lean out the window and shoot or do whatever, although there's some penalties and shit involved, all the usual stuff. There's nothing too fancy with vehicles, but that's good. That is how I would want it, because I'm not trying to I don't want a whole fucking subsystem to drive the getaway car,
Yeah, I mean, I like it more in, no, sorry, not that I like it more. I expect it to be more complicated in something like Stars, where your ship has to have multiple facets to it, right? You have the guns and the radar.
Well, we're talking about spaceships, yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to cars, yeah.
This, we're talking about cars or a tank or a VTOL and shit, right?
That being
doesn't
said,
need to be quite as crazy.
Hellscapes had something like that because the weapons had the attack ports and stuff, and it is fun. And maybe if you had a tank or something, I could see that, but yeah.
I mean, you can still do a lot of that because of the general open-endedness of how the game works. You could still whip up something like that pretty easily. Because, you got to remember too, a big element of the without number games is that they are real easily open to adjustment. It's not too deeply, you don't need a fucking, I don't know, calculus degree or whatever to adjust the game.
Right.
So, where was it? Oh, once a vehicle is destroyed, however, there is a chance that all of the damage from the vehicle getting destroyed can roll over to you. Yeah. So being in a vehicle when it gets destroyed is real bad.
I do think that's pretty funny. It's do I really have to roll for car accident in my RPG? Game says yes.
Yes, you do. In this game, you do. So if you take damage, or If the vehicle's destroyed, occupants take damage as if they were hit by whatever took out the vehicle with a luck save for half damage. So if a rocket launcher inflicts 18 points of damage on a car and blew it to pieces, the passengers would also take 18 points of damage with a luck save to half it. So being in a vehicle when it gets blown up, not great. Also, if the vehicle was moving at the time it was destroyed or goes out of control, the passengers can also take crash damage. Each passenger rolls both a physical save and a luck save. If they make both, you're good, you're clean, you're out, you're safe. If you fail one, they take half their maximum HP and damage, which may leave them mortally wounded, which is to say mortally wounded is downed. You're at 0 HP. If they fail both, they're mortally wounded and will suffer a major injury if they live. So crashing,
if you survive, you're still getting good.
So crashing, also really bad. So potentially, if you're moving at high speed and you get rocket launched, the vehicle explodes. You have to make a luck save to see how much damage from the rocket launcher hits you. Then you have to make another luck save and a physical save to see if you take another stack of damage that is half your max HP, or to see if you're basically okay from the crash, or it gets even worse. So being in a destroyed moving vehicle is a bad time. The game, so like I said, vehicles can also take traumatic hits, but it does say vehicles are immune to traumatic hits from any weapons that do not specifically note as being able to inflict them. In some cases, the GM may, even that may not be sufficient. A GM is within their rights to decide that an ordinary anti-material rifle isn't going to be shooting out the engine block of a battle tank. So there is some GM adjudication on whether or not you can actually traumatically hit the vehicle. If you do traumatically hit the vehicle, it works the same as for a person. But as we established, if there's a person in the vehicle and you traumatically hit the vehicle, the rocket launcher that dealt 18 damage would then deal, what the hell's 18 times 3?
18 times 3.
54 damage.
Yeah.
So, even worse. You can also do a little maneuvering and like ramming actions and shit. Basically, as part of your main action that you use to control the vehicle, you could try to ram a vehicle or outmaneuver another vehicle. You make a drive check, basically drive dexterity or drive exert. If you hit a target or hit a person, sorry. You deal the vehicle's max HP in damage to the person. So if the vehicle has 30 HP, you just deal 30 flat. With a trauma die of a D12, which is quite high because most people, their trauma target starts at 6 for 3 times damage. So, could be 30 damage or 90.
Bro, hitting somebody with 90 damage.
Yeah.
That's magical.
That'd be rude. So yeah, ramming into shit with a vehicle is dangerous.
Reliable way to deal with high-level enemies.
Could be, yeah. The ramming vehicle also takes damage as if the target vehicle rammed it in turn. So that's also worth pointing out. Yeah. Then it mentions briefly chases and pursuits. So not a whole lot to say with chases, but if you are on foot or you're in a vehicle, basically you will just make opposed checks with a bunch of, there's 2 modifiers for vehicle chase and foot chase. You'll make opposed checks with those, both of those modifiers, or both of those tables, giving you a bunch of modifiers to look at. If you succeed, you catch them. If you fail, they don't. It's pretty quick. The game is not assuming you're going to be doesn't assume you're going to be doing super long extended chase scenes. Well, one thing that I will say is kind of funny. It specifically says hybrid chase. If a group on foot is chasing a vehicle, they automatically fail unless the vehicle is forced into like tight confines or obstacles. If a group in vehicles is chasing a group on foot, they just automatically catch them unless they have some way to get away from the vehicle, like going into a building or alleyways or sewers or whatever. So you can't outrun the car. You need to outsmart the car.
I actually appreciate this. This is one of those things. Again, when D&D is like, I have a horse, can I catch him? And then you're like, well, what's the horse's movement speed? And you're like, oh, it's 90. And it's like, well, technically, if he does his full action to dash, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, that whole kit and caboodle. Yeah.
Also, like, you have to take into account horse action economy, as we had to learn with Sam.
Horse action economy. Yep. Yes, we do. Shit, what was I gonna say? The only other thing to keep in mind with vehicle chases is that the vehicle's speed stat adds to the check that you're making. So, like, the faster vehicle is more likely to beat out the slower one because you add the speed check as a bonus. Then we get into gear, lifestyle, and services. There's like nothing to super add other than there's just basically there's just a lot. Like under the gears, lifestyle, and services and all that shit, there's just a lot of stuff. Because Cyberpunk game, so you're dealing with lots of little pieces of gear. Lots of different, there's big tables of lifestyles per month, which will affect your system strain. Basically, if you live poorly, you have less system strain. If you live well, you have more system strain. There's wages for if you're trying to hire somebody or if you're the GM and trying to figure out what to pay, what a person could pay the PCs reasonably or whatever. There's fucking goggles and climbing kits and backpacks and fucking radio thingies and smartphone shit. A lot of gear and shit because Cyberpunk game.
This was my favorite part of the game. I don't have much to say on it, but I liked reading through all the different gear.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of gear. If you're a person who likes gear, oh buddy, we got you covered in this game. I did skip over I'm skipping over stuff because we've already talked about it with the other two games. Character advancement works the same, except you acquire edges as you level up. That's like literally the only difference, I'm pretty sure. If there is any other difference, I missed it, but I don't think there is. You can still craft and modify gear. It works the same as Stars and Worlds. Basically, you have a certain amount of mods and gear that you can reasonably maintain. It takes you X amount of time to build the various mods. You have to have fix 1 or fix 2 to install the mods. All that same shit. It all, nothing to add. It all works the same, but it is still there in case you were worried about it. Obviously armor and weapons is a thing, but there's so much. There's so much. The one thing I will note that's worth mentioning with the armor, like we mentioned, armor has ranged and melee AC. Armor has a damage soak value. It has encumbrance, which is the same. It has a trauma target modifier, so a heavily armored suit gives you +3 to your trauma target. And then it also has a thing that says subtle or not, which is basically how obvious is this piece of gear you're wearing. So if you're walking into a nightclub wearing obviously armor, people might be like, hey bud, what you doing there? There's also some armor accessories like riot shield, enforcement plates, joint replacement, a couple of extra things. And then an obsolete tech modifier, which I thought was funny. It makes the gear cheaper, but also worse.
Yes, yeah, you get something like that with the cyberware. You can get the secondhand stuff.
Yeah, and then secondhand shit. Weapons. There's plenty of weapons. Lots of weapons. Nothing to add. There's a lot of weapons.
Yeah.
Lots of guns and shit. Lots of things to do with the weapons.
Unfortunately, we've sort of gabbed about how sick the way that the weapons are described, again, how similar it is to like the Fantasy Flight. You know, they're very evocative and give you just enough information to do the fun stuff that you want to do, but not so overly detailed that they bog things down, a la like Shadowrun.
And if you want to hear us talk a little more about the weapons, Stars Without Number, we talked about them a whole bunch because Stars Without Number also has a dickload of weapons.
Mm-hmm.
You can also add mods to your weapons and your armor. What is there to say? You can add mods, like I've talked about before. One thing that I do want to point out, actually, I think I put this in the Cyberpunk section, but if you look at the tables in this game, something he did that's really an excellent addition. If the thing in the table has like a special effect, so under like armor mods, for example, it has the name all the way to the left. All the way to the right of the table, it gives you a brief description of what the mod does within the table, like a 1-sentence description. And then if you decide that you want that, you can go and read the specifics of it below. For example, absorption pads, which requires fixed skill 2 to install, cost $2,000, does not require any special tech. Special tech is like the ancient tech stuff in Stars. It's like it's special, special crafting components you need to have on. You need to have a certain amount to make some of the better modifications. And it says the armor gains +5 HP of soak per fight. Oh, cool. I want the +5 HP. And then you're like, is there any other specifics I need to know? You can scroll down and check what it says. For the absorption pads, it just says kinetic padding is added to the armor, granting it 5 more hit points of damage soak per fight. That one's obviously easy. Some of them are a little longer than others. If you make it customized, a specific user gains +1 to range and melee AC. This is for armor. If you go to weapon mods, auto targeting adds a +1 bonus to hit with the weapon. Extended mag doubles your weapon mag size. Heavy Sabbat allows traumatic hits on drones and vehicles. Turns into an anti-vehicle weapon. There's these everything has these little short descriptors on the right of the table, which is really helpful, especially when we get to cyberware, because oh my god, there's a lot of cyberware.
There's a lot of cyberware.
There's a lot.
So it's really helpful. As a preview, you have body cyberware, head cyberware, skin cyberware, limb cyberware, sensory cyberware, medical cyberware, nerve cyberware, and mods for your cyberware.
And mods. And cyber decks.
And and that's not even talking about your deck and all the crazy shit you can do with that.
Yeah. So that little extra descriptor on the right, super helpful. And if I didn't say weapons work the same, the only thing that's added is weapons have a trauma die now, which we already talked about. So, well, a trauma die and a trauma rating. But yeah, other than that, do the same. Let's see. One sec. Then pharmaceuticals and street drugs. It's a cyberpunk game, so naturally we got drugs. There's a plethora of drugs that basically act as one-time consumables, which give you various buffs, but often also come with a downside to them. Some of the drugs require you to know you have to have a certain amount of knowledge to administer them, so you need to have a skill at a certain rank. So if it says heal 1, that means your heal skill has to be rank 1 to even administer the drug. To give you an idea of like what kind of shit they do, the descriptions for the drugs are really fun. So
I love
Bone
them.
Shaker.
Yeah, I was gonna say my favorite one is probably Control Delete.
I don't think I looked at that one. Bone Shaker, a filthy mix of jailbroken corp industrial chems and amphetamine scrapings. Bone Shaker is a popular combat drug amongst most impoverished or savage street gangs. On application, the subject is filled with blind aggression, gaining a +2 morale bonus and a +2 bonus to hit rolls, damage, and shock. The recklessness induced by Bone Shaker leaves them wide open, however, and all attacks against them add a +2 to any trauma die rolls. Bone Shaker lasts for 1 scene and adds 2 system strain at the end of it. So effectively, if you take it, you get a +2 bonus to hit, a +2 bonus to damage, and you do more shock damage. Shock damage is the automatic damage you do if you're attacking basically a lesser armored opponent. But it means you are more likely to get hit with a traumatic hit. So obviously, little risky. What does Control Delete do? A chemical that temporarily destroys a person's ability to form long-term memories. Oh. Control Delete must be ingested in food or drink. Toxin filtering cyber can fend it off, but it otherwise grants no saving throws. Once affected, the target will continue to act normally, but anything that happens to them between then and their next sleep or unconsciousness will be completely forgotten by the time they awaken.
Yeah.
You just no think no good.
Yeah, it's literally orb of confusion.
Yeah.
I really like the pharmaceuticals because it's not just like combat stims, it's poisons.
Yes, it is combat stims and poisons. It covers both. I would have liked a few more of them, but there's enough that you can build out your own, I think, from this list pretty easily.
I was telling Josh before, with each of the Without Number games, I've been like, this is the character I want to play. I think for the 2 that I had in mind for cities was either like the typical nightclub bartender who just poisons people, or the Johnny Silverhand, guitar slanging, pistolero, fan in
guitar
hammer on
slanging, dick slanging.
Yeah. Sounded like Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. Oh, and just for context, in case anyone's curious, like, could he make that in this game? Well, one of the edges you can take is voice of the people.
Yes.
You're a rocker, graffiti artist, poet, demagogue, or other rabble-rouser with considerable reputation. You gain both levels of the pop idol focus and an additional friend contact related to your art. And you go, okay, cool. What does the pop idol focus do again? Just in case you're curious. Let me see if I could find it real quick.
You can mobilize mobs of your fans against people.
Yeah. You gain performance as a bonus skill. Once per game week, with an hour or so of messaging, you can mobilize about 100 of your fans to perform some act of your choice, provided it's no more than mildly criminal or slightly dangerous. Flash mobs, getaway drivers, scout reports, tailing people, or instant parties might all qualify. Your fans don't have any special skills, but they'll do anything ordinary workers or civilians could do. If you mobilize them for donations or merch purchases, you get 1,000 per character level, doubled at 5th level and quadrupled at 10th level. You can't mobilize them to buy your content more than once per month. At level 2, you can mobilize up to 100 fans per character level, which at level 10 would mean 10,000 people.
A lot.
Wait, did I do my math right there? Hold on, wait. Yeah, 100 times 10, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's 1,000.
Wait,
that's not 10,000.
1,000 people. Sorry, 1,000 people. 1,000 people. Jesus Christ, I'm stupid. Though major mobs are likely to draw law enforcement, you've cultivated fan leaders who can pass along your wishes, deniably concealing your involvement. Your donation and merch earning amounts double. Your charisma modifier increases by +1 to a maximum of +2. So, yeah. So if you take the edge, if you take that rabble rouser or the what was it, the voice of the people edge, you gain both levels of that focus right from the jump. So, yes, rocker guy is definitely on the table. After pharmaceuticals, we have cyberware. Oh, get your bippy ready.
Yes, sir.
So, first, it talks about getting cyberware installed and like broadly where you're gonna find it. So to get it installed, you have to have a cyber dock or a ripper dock if you want to phrase it that way. I don't think they can say ripper dock. I think that one's trademarked, but you know. essentially the cyberdoc will make a check against a table. The table basically will dictate the time, the cost, and the DC with potential modifiers being added or subtracted depending on the situation. For example, if the cyberdoc has a sterile medical operating room, they get a +1 to their roll. If they don't have an operating room, they get a -1. The cyberware is dictated, so it goes, how much system strain is the cyberware adding to your body? Then it'll tell you based on that how much it costs, how long it'll take for you to recover, and the difficulty of the roll. So if the system strain it's adding is 0.1 to 0.5, it'll cost $500, take you 1 day to recover, and it's difficulty 8. So not too bad. If the cyberdoc fails the check by more than 2 points, the surgery fails, your system strain is maxed out, you're reduced to 1 hit point. You survive, but the cyber survives and you survive. But the cyber now counts as used for future implant purposes, because you can install used cyberware. So if he fails by 2 or more, he fucked up. If he fails by 1 or 2 points, if he fails by more than 2 points, he fucked up. If he fails by 1 or 2 points, the surgery is successful, but you suffer a random implant complication. The glitch isn't obvious until after the surgery is done. If you want to try again, you have to have the cyberware removed and then re-implanted. So you can try again, but, takes work.
A little mean.
Yeah. That being said, you could also roll a complication that doesn't matter.
True.
Right?
Yeah. There's the one where it's like it just is kind of finicky, narratively speaking.
Yeah. Or it could be the one that it's insufficient. The wear incurs an additional 0.5 system strain cost. If you're not really cybered up, you might not care that much about that. And you're like, that's fine. It still works.
Mm-hmm.
If you succeed, the cyber is implanted successfully. Whether successful or not, the subject needs a certain amount of time of recovery before they can return to the action. Basically, yeah, you had surgery done. You have recovery time. If you want to get the cyberware removed, it's another simple check. So removing cyberware can't fail. You can always remove it. The only thing that the check is to determine if the cyberware is removed and is totally functional, or the cyberdoc fucked it up, and so the cyberware gets beat up. Essentially, it gets fucked up in the removal process. Yeah, that's it. You can also remove cyberware from dead bodies.
Yes, so I wanted to bring this up. You can, but you only have you have an hour after the person dies to do it effectively, and then you've got up to 24 hours to do it, risking it for a biscuit, and then after that, the cyberware is ruined, presumably because of the decay.
Totally shot. Yep.
There are probably teams of people. Their whole job is just to scout out
collect
for
people.
gunfights, run onto the scene, yank the cyber, and then just leave.
Yeah.
I want that to be if you're playing a game, that's what I'd want to play it with. Like a fucking cyber collector. That just sounds so much fun.
Scoop shit up.
Yeah.
If the cyberdoc fails to remove it successfully, it's now counted as second-hand cyberware, which we'll get to in a sec. Then you have cyberware maintenance. Basically, however much your cyberware costs, you have to spend 5% of the cyberware's cost every month. If you don't spend that every month, you will start to add complications to the cyberware. That's it. If you really, really ignore it, very extended lack of maintenance can provoke chronic illness or death. Some ultra high-end bespoke wear may absolutely require timely maintenance, blah, blah, blah. That's mostly flavor. Basically, if you really ignore it, it can be very unpleasant. Yeah. And then in terms of pay your maintenance, otherwise your shit breaks.
Yeah, they literally say if you want those
break.
cyber legs kicking, you better pay your maintenance fees.
Yeah. Then we have concealing the cyberware, or like how concealable your cyberware is. So basically there's 3 levels. You have medical grade cyberware, which is concealed from surface level inspection, and you can't see it without some kind of scanner or medical examination. So, you know, underskin, like dermal implant type shit. Then there's touch rated cyber, which is stuff that is not obvious when you look at the person, but if you touch the limb or the skin or whatever, you can feel it. So if somebody had like arm blades, I'm pretty sure arm blades are touch. You can't see by looking at their arm, but if you feel their forearm, you can feel the like plate of metal that opens up or whatever. And then there's sight rated cyberware, which is like a fully mechanical arm. Obviously that's a mechanical arm. And then it does actually also mention cyber that produces obvious bodily changes is obvious while being used. So a body blades implant might be hidden under most circumstances, but slicing open some corpo VIP with it is going to make it very obvious very quickly. Which, you know, makes sense. You can't see your body blades until you bust them out.
So I'm assuming you also visualized them as the mantis blades from Cyberpunk, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
I also visualized them as is it Adam Smasher, who just has like the straight flat blade? Maybe it's not him. What am I thinking of? I have an image in my head of somebody with like an arm blade, but it just pops out straight, and there's no tip on it. The tip is like flat. Looks like a big like butcher knife or something.
It might be. Yeah, I think Smasher has that.
I don't know. Yeah. Something like that. But yes, I did definitely picture the mantis blades for sure.
A part of me also thought of what the fuck, what's his nuts? What's that fucking dork's name in Baki? His body's covered in blades.
Oh,
one of the death row villains.
The one voiced by Ichigo.
Yeah, the one voiced by Johnny Albash. Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's not Dorian.
It's not Dorian.
It's oh no. Does it also start with a D?
Doyle? Is it Doyle?
I think it's Doyle. Yeah, hold on. Doyle, Baki. Yes, yeah.
It's Doyle.
Hector Doyle.
Yeah, it's Hector Doyle. Yep. Yeah, that loser.
Him and his weird redemption arc, and then his unredemption arc.
Yeah. The character who survived the electric chair for literally no reason, just cause.
Yeah, just because he could. He's just built different. Yeah.
Yeah. That's just the excuse for everyone in Baki. How do they do anything? I don't know. They're just built different.
Well, yeah, because fucking Dorian's like, yeah, he was hanged for like 10 minutes or something. And he's like, yeah, I just flexed my neck to stop my neck from breaking.
Yeah, no biggie.
Fucking Baki,
God.
Dude.
Baki's so fucking stupid. I can't. But it's not the right kind of... That's really my thing with Baki. It's not the right kind of stupid. Because, like, Kengan Ashura is stupid, too. But Kengan Ashura is hype as fuck.
It really is. You know what's funny? This is a tangent to our tangent. Janara was God. Is there a single episode where you guys can just stay on topic? Sorry, I fucked up. Anyway, no. The answer is no. We try. It doesn't work.
Yeah. No. Cannot, won't stop.
Look, you're getting us. We're both exhausted today, and you're getting us at low energy mode, and we still tangent.
Why would I want to stay on topic?
I agree. I think the tangents are half the fun, frankly.
You don't want to hear a little bit about our Baki takes? My deep hatred of Baki.
My deep love to bother Josh about Baki.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, now I gotta find where I was in my notes. Hold on.
My bad.
Yeah. Okay. You can attempt to. What the fuck? What did I write here? You can attempt to reasonable the cyber. What? Reinstall, I think, was supposed to be what the word there was. I think.
I think so.
Yeah. But also, where did I even... Oh, okay, right. So if you have an implant complication, you can try to reinstall the original cyberware to like dodge the implant, but it's costly and time consuming. Basically, you have to pay for it again. And you get a cumulative -1 penalty every time you keep trying. So like, you know, if you keep trying to reinstall it over and over again, the penalty is going to get so bad that it's just like, nah, you just got to live with it now, Chief.
Yeah, can you imagine you're trying to get like a Sandevistan installed and you keep waking up from the
fucking it up.
The anesthesia and the doc's like, yeah, man, sorry, I didn't take again. And you're like, oh my God, no, again. It's like, dude, if you have any more anesthesia in your system, you're going to die. You're like, I don't care. I paid. Yeah, he's going out again, and he's gone.
Oh, there he goes.
We'll try again.
And then lastly, in the section where this technically isn't even the full cyberware section. This is like all the stuff you need to know before you look at the cyberware. Lastly, you have skill plugs. These are basically like a special kind of implant that lets you have points in skills that you otherwise wouldn't have. So like, oh, I don't have the heal skill, but I'm going to install a skill plug that gives me the heal skill +1 to my heal skill. You have to have a skill plug jack, which is obviously its own type of cyberware, and then you purchase the plugs themselves. Level 0 and level 1 plugs are reasonably affordable. Level 2 plugs are costly as fuck. Level 3 plugs are like nigh unobtainable unless you're an Atom Smasher type character who's like the biggest badass around with a lot of connections. And for context, a level 0 mental skill or a conventional language mastery would cost you 1,000. Level 1 is 10,000. Level 2 is 5,000. So they get expensive. And then if it's a physical based skill plug, so like if you wanted to increase your punch skill, take the mental cost and times it by 2. So you can get skill plugs to cover your inadequacies, but they are not cheap. The other thing is that each skill plug you install increases your critical failure threshold by 1 for the skill that you are rolling with. So like if you have a skill plug for heal and then you roll your heal skill, your critical failure threshold would be 2 and 1 instead of just a 1. Because it's not actually your skill that you're using. So the idea is that you could potentially fuck up harder because you did not take the time to actually practice the skill yourself.
Oh, see, I missed that too. That's interesting. Kind of like that.
Yeah. So with an excellent substitute for years of practice, skill plugs have their flaws. The programmatic expertise embedded in them sometimes conflicts with the user's natural instincts or an already extant muscle memory. Whenever the user rolls a natural 2 on a skill plug augmented skill check or a natural 1 on an augmented attack roll, the checker roll is an automatic failure with no reroll ability can save. The skill plug jack itself then locks up uselessly for the scene, so you fail and you lose access to it. Well, it is possible to implant multiple plug jacks and use multiple skill plugs at once. The increased neural crosstalk invariably increases the chance of severe error. Each additional skill plug run after the first increases the automatical failure roll range by 1 point. So you can't go too crazy with it. I mean, you can, but there's a downside. Like everything in Cyberpunk, there's going to be a downside to your, whatever weird thing you're doing.
Non-zero chance. Freeze up and then get domed.
Yeah. Side note, I think that this paragraph is actually a really good example to point out what Isaiah was always talking about, where he's like, these books are kind of hard to read because there's a lot of fluff stuff around the mechanics, right? This paragraph I just read. While an excellent substitute for years of practice, skill plugs have their flaws. The programmatic expertise embedded in them sometimes conflicts with the user's natural instincts or already extant muscle memory. None of that is needed. That's all fluff.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's no rules in that statement. Then it says, whenever the user rolls a natural 2 on a skill plug augmented skill check or a 1 on an attack roll, the checker rolls an automatic failure, which no reroll can save. No reroll ability can save. So, like, the first half of that paragraph has no mechanics, and then the second half of the paragraph is the mechanics.
So here's something that they do in this book that I like, but they don't do it enough for it to be satisfying, is there's a couple sections, I don't 100% remember where, but they will either embolden or italicize the rules bit of the rules.
Yes.
And I wish they just
usually
did it for the whole
proper book. Usually for proper noun type shit. Like for the part where it says skill plug wires, that's like italicized and bolded.
Yeah, perfect here. For secondhand cyber, it gives you all of this fluff, and then in italics it says, a PC can find one feasible candidate after a week of scouting on the streets. Cool.
Yeah. Yes, sometimes it does it, but not all the time.
I need it to be all the time.
I know you do. So now we get on to the cyberware systems, which is like how they actually function. So it starts being like, all right, where the fuck do you buy this shit? Basically, PC operators, which are, you know, your character's operators, are generally going to buy your cyberware from some sort of back alley shop situation and secondhand a lot until you get, you know, cooler. I did make a note of this. Kevin Crawford is a man who really loves his vocab because he be teaching me words I've never heard of. Did you know what a demimond is, or a demimond?
No.
You know what the fuck that word meant? Yeah.
Not even a little bit.
So I had to look that one up. A demimond, for those curious, it's spelled Demimonde. In 19th century France, the class of women considered to be of doubtful morality and social standing.
Did he really hit me with the ye old English for the whores?
Yes. Because he says, street denizens, operators, and other demimonde get their chrome implanted in seedy back alley chop shops, dirty living rooms, and gang run clinics.
That's a little wild. I ain't even gonna lie.
Yes.
That's kind of nuts.
He busted out the ye old French for the horse. I thought that was really, I was like, yo, bro, you gotta relax.
Demimonde. That's like costermonger, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yes. The fuck is a costermonger? Yeah. Yeah, so basically it's just describing the types of scenarios that your PCs can reasonably expect to be acquiring shit. So, how do you actually get your secondhand cyberware? All right, so in search of cheap chrome, a PC can find one feasible candidate after a week of scouting the streets. Then, lost track, hold on. Then you make a roll on a complication table to determine the built-in issue with the cyberware itself, an implant complication. So basically you're getting it secondhand, so it's fucked up somehow. If you have a contact who can help you, so like if your contact is, you know, I don't know, a cyberdoc maybe, you can re-roll the complication and then choose which one you want. If the operator really doesn't want the ware at that point, they have to go back on the hunt. The time required doubles with each successive attempt. But secondhand cyberware is half the price of new cyberware. This discount does not apply to maintenance, though. Do keep that in mind. But it's at half price. Basically, you can go around looking for half price shit, but it's going to come with a built-in complication, which at, you know, level 1 or 2 or whatever is a reasonable bargain, because the cheapest cyberware is like $10,000. So, you know. Did you notice there was also did you see the full body conversion?
I did. Yeah, that's
for
literally the Atom Smasher go full board.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The full board conversion. Yep.
Yeah, I didn't read what it did though.
Okay. So, actually, here. Okay. Yeah. So after it explains how to get secondhand cyberware, then we get into the tables of the cyberware itself. And as I put in my notes, bold, all capitals, so many tables of stuff. As Isaiah noted, there's body, head, skim, limb, sensory, medical, and nerve cyberware. So there's a lot. The full body conversion. Let's read the full body conversion. It's kind of long, but it's funny. The user's brain and central nervous system are transplanted into a cutting edge synthetic shell at a cost and difficulty as if this cyber took 4 system strain, which is a lot. Because the table for does the table even go up to 4 for the installations? It says 3.1 or more. So yeah. Once converted, the subject has an effective constitution of 20 for system strain purpose, but cannot be healed by conventional first aid or medical drugs, requiring 10 minutes of repair work with a toolkit to repair any amount of damage, and $250 worth of parts for each hit point to be restored. A full conversion Borg no longer requires food, water, air, or sleep, but each day without the latter adds 1 system strain due to the mental stress. So you don't need to sleep, but your mind will snap if you don't sleep eventually.
Yeah.
The conversion requires 12 hours of maintenance every 2 weeks, and missing it will result in the user's death in 2d6 days unless the omitted maintenance is performed. Current full body conversion tech is unstable. After 1d4 years, the subject has a cumulative 5% chance of death each year. Borgs do not take major injuries and gain a +6 bonus to their trauma target that stacks with existing bonuses. Yeah. So, like, ultimately, maybe not even really that worth it, but it's cool.
Yeah, that seems like this is a suicide mission, might as well.
Yeah, well, I think this also exists more for the GM to stick it on an NPC than anything else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. You're literally, that's I would say more than Atom Smasher, that's the major Kusanagi.
Yeah, that too. It's kind of, yeah. As I did mention before with the weapons, all of the cyberware has the effect of it on the far right side of the table in a brief little short description. So for example, if you get dermal armor, it says adds +1 to the user's trauma target. If you get emergency stabilization factor, it says automatically stabilize. Holdout cavity, 2 encumbrance of a hidden body space. So you get these brief little descriptors, and then you scroll down and read more closely. Couple other fun ones. There's a dead man circuit, which just like fries any data that's in your brain when you go down. The Banshee module, which lets you mimic voices and stun enemies.
You get a canary.
The Titan gun system, which lets you mount a heavy weapon to your body, because these are all body cyberware. I just like the name Titan gun. Here you go. This is another reason. Usable only by a full body conversion cyborg or subjects with a strength score of 18. This amount allows the installation of a man-portable heavy weapon, such as those on page 57. The user counts as a stable firing rest, and the weapon has 2 integral magazines of ammo, though it can be loaded by hand as well. The specific weapon mounted can be swapped during maintenance.
So that's really funny. I know this is more likely the reference to Atom Smasher having the minigun on his shoulder.
On his shoulder, yeah.
But the thing that it reminds me more of is at the end or halfway through season 1 of Ghost in the Shell, the Major gets her ass beat by one of the Appleseed looking mechs with the 4 arms. and she just steals Saito's anti-material rifle and one-arms it at point blank at the fucking mech. Just over and over again until she mag dumps it, and the dude on the inside's like screaming for help because like the bullets aren't actually getting through to him because of the armor, but the concussive damage he keeps taking is like killing him. Good time.
Yes, I'm gonna say it's probably not so much a reference to that one, but it could also be flavored that way. So
look, I mean, like I said, it's almost certainly the Adam Smasher thing. It just in my head, I imagine, the major one-arming a Barrett 50 caliber at point blank.
Just like Roberta.
Yeah.
Under head cyberware, one that I really like is the eye mod that turns your eyeballs into a flèche round launcher.
Oh, hate that.
A holdout weapon designed for surprise short-range attacks. This eye has been loaded with small explosive flechettes. It has the stats of a light pistol and a range of 10 meters and requires a main action to reload its single-round magazine. If used against a target in melee range who does not suspect its existence, a normal hit roll is made. On a miss, it does full normal damage anyway. On a hit, the damage is doubled. So,
do you know what a flèche is?
You just grab someone. Yeah.
Okay.
You just grab someone. Surprise, motherfucker.
Yeah, just surprise razor blades to the face.
For skin cyberware, we have dermal armor 1, 2, and 3. Obviously, Poseidon implants to breathe underwater, Skyborn shielding, which I think is like a set of implants and skin treatments meant for those who spend extended periods in vacuums. Oh, it's for breathing. Yeah, nice. Shark skin electrodes, which give you shocky hands. Let's see what other. Obviously, we have our limb cyberware, body blade, cyber limbs, metal hands, limb gun, muscle fiber replacement, shock fists. The classics. And then you have sensory cyberware, ear modifiers, eye modifiers, fucking gun link, head communicator. There's also a Medusa mod under the head ones that let you have literally like tensile Medusa hairs. Medical cyberware, which is basically just to replace. It's like prosthetics. They're not like weaponized cyberware. Nerve cyberware, enhanced augments, coordination, reflexes, reaction booster, skill plug jack. Zombie wires. Zombie wires is a fun one. Basically, your body, you go down, and then your cyberware takes your brain over like a zombie and just keeps doing whatever action you told it to do. Thought that was pretty fun. And then, of course, you can modify your cyberware, such as adding a monoblade to your weapon, or a quick detachable system, or make it firewalled so it's harder to hack the cyberware. Because that is the thing you can do in this game. You can hack someone's cyberware on their body, which is like, fucking rude.
It is one of my favorite things. So, like, that is something I do like doing, even though I don't usually play the Deckers or the Netrunners. I do love hacking someone's cyberware. There's the commit unalive hack in 2077. And that one's really funny and, like, really gruesome because you can hear the person be like, no. As the gun slowly goes up, and you're like, I feel a little bad about this.
And then after all the cyberware stuff, the book briefly mentions cyberdecks and modifying your cyberdecks. I'm going to skip over this because we'll talk about cyberdecks in a bit, but you can modify your cyberdeck. That's the main thing. You can overclock it and fucking add to the memory and make a better case chassis for it and all that yibbity yabahoo. And then obviously this is also where you would buy the decks themselves. Then you have drones. Drones are like drones to me are one of the other main key elements to cyberpunk as a genre. I don't know about you. I feel like drones are really important.
That's not where my brain goes usually. It is like a facet of it, but it's not something that like particularly I'm like, yes, drones.
I don't know. I always think about the drones. I don't really know why, but the drones feel rather key to me. They work pretty much the same as stars without number. Drones do have a trauma target though, so you can like You can dome the drone. Basically to control, like, there's drone stats. They have AC, trauma target, HP, fittings, movement, hard points. Basically fittings and hard points are how many like weapons or extra doodads you can stick on them. When you control your drone, you use your skills, bonuses, and and you use the same skill bonuses and action economy you do for your character to pilot the drone, plus any bonuses you might get from things like mods and fittings on the drone. So for example, if you want your drone to make an attack roll, you roll with your to hit bonus plus your program or drive skill plus your int or dex and make the attack roll just as you would if you were shooting a gun. If a drone is destroyed, if a drone hits 0 HP, that's it, it's destroyed. Repairing a drone, you need a toolkit and a fixed 0 skill, and it costs 25% of the drone's total cost. Boom, bang, boom. There's not a ton to say about, obviously, I'm making it sound like drones are really boring. There is a lot of really cool mods you can add on them. I'm not going to go through all the mods, but there is a ton of drone fittings and guns and shit you can add to your drone. So you can absolutely play the Shadowrun rigger character. And then it gives you a couple of like common drone actions that you can do. But basically if you're controlling a drone, you're going to use the drone the same as you would if your character was using a gun. Like the drone is your gun is the idea.
It's just omnidirectional.
Yes, it's an omnidirectional gun. And then there's the vehicles page. We already talked about like using a vehicle after the drones is the actual vehicles page. Nothing to add here. They follow the same structure as they do in Stars Without Number, with the exception of the added trauma target number. And then there are some sample NPC vehicles in here that you can use as the GM, basically. But yeah, vehicles, they have the stats you'd expect: speed, armor, trauma, AC, HP, crew, power, mass, size, hard points. Crew is like how many can they hold. Power is what power do they have to power like extra fittings. Mass is how big are the fittings you can put on there. Size is the size of the vehicle itself. And then hard points is how many spots can you stick guns on this thing. There are also a list of vehicle fittings and vehicle mods and so on and so forth. Like everything else in the game, you can stick all sorts of fun doodads on it. Are you sensing a theme here? There's a lot of doodads.
A lot of doodads. Like a whole lot.
There's a lot of doodads. That's Without Numbers game. Then we get to the creme de la creme, the thing that everybody always wants to know when they pick up any game that is Cyberpunk in any way. How does the hacking work?
I've been kind of quiet this episode. I actually unironically love the way the hacking works in this game. It is, best way I can describe it, elegant.
It's pretty good, is what I will say.
Like, I won't say it's simple, but it is elegant. If there was a way to do it, and we've talked about this before, hacking or any sort of subsystem in a game this complex easily just turns into, you're just playing a different game now.
Yes, I think this game does mostly avoid that problem.
Yes, that's what I was just about to say. It somehow manages to avoid it for the most part, and it's because of how effective and, I mean, I guess I will say simple, because the hacking is, relatively speaking, is simple yet quite evocative.
It pretty much follows the same flow. It follows basically the same flow as the main combat mechanics of the game, because, ultimately hacking does, in Cyberpunk games, end up being a form of combat. So, and like I said, I would say it's like 80-90% of the way there for me. There's still little elements of it that feel a little confusing in a way that I'm like, maybe they don't need to, but I also don't necessarily. This is my problem. Anytime I find hacking in a game, right, I look at it and I go, this feels a little more complicated than it needs to be, but I also don't have a better idea.
Right.
Right? Like, I don't know exactly what I would do to make it better, but it still feels just a little shy, like something's just slightly off, but I can't quite put my finger on it.
Well, I think it just sort of runs into the issue that even this, as good as it is, it's really difficult to hit that.
It's very difficult.
That feel that you get watching something like you were watching Lucy or Kiwi and Edgerunners, that like you can do anything if you hack good enough, if you can crack the mainframe cool enough.
You can do a lot in this game though.
You can do a lot. No, that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I agree with you where it hits the like 80% mark, because what you can do is quite extensive. But I don't think there's going to be any way other than like a weave magical bullshit button to get the exact vibe you're looking for.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, somebody smarter than me I think could figure it out, but
I think a lot of people tried.
Right now,
I don't think they can figure it out.
A lot of people
either.
have tried. That's true. So what's the vibe? Because this is important, right? What's the vibe of the hacking in this game? Because every Cyberpunk game, I feel like, handles the vibe a little differently. So this game goes for your pretty standard 80s style Cyberpunk, where basically everything is hardwired and there is no World Wide Web. Right, so it's not like Shadowrun where you have the shadow net or whatever the fuck it's called that runs across like the whole city or the whole world or big chunks of the world or whatever. I'm forgetting my Shadowrun lore a little bit at this point. Characters use a crown or a cranial jack to jack into virtual reality via a little wire. The look of virtual reality takes on whatever vibe the user wants. So if you have a guy who's really into like samurai movies or whatever, his entire virtual space is going to look like Japanese temples and, you know, Buddhist monks and samurai and all that shit. Because everything is kind of assumed to be hardwired, or you have to physically be near it or relatively close or whatever. Cyberpunk Red actually does this too. Slightly different, but similar idea. This means that things like data chips, where you have to physically take the zip drive base, you know, and move the zip drive physically from one area to another. Data chips, security systems that are connected to nothing except the building that they're in, and like anonymous wire transfers of money are all on the table, because the idea is that the data is being moved physically with like a hard drive or a zip drive or something like that. Money transfers can be anonymous because there's no World Wide Web for them to go through, or they can be largely anonymous depending on how you do it. And if you get into the security system of a building, you might not get into the entire building. The security system might only be hardwired to that floor. So it's all that, it's that very tactile style of, there's no Wi-Fi. In fact, the book even calls out that like Wi-Fi thermometers don't exist because they're a massive security risk. Or Wi-Fi thermostats, I meant to say.
Mm-hmm.
So the game's like, the thermostat is not wireless in the corpo building, because then the hacker could shut down the entire building, so nobody would ever install that. Because they would be executed. This also means that because everything is this sort of enclosed bubble type of security and wiring and everything, the hacker character cannot be the guy in the chair where they jump on the net from miles away and just wirely start busting into buildings or shit. The hacker character has to physically be in the mission. You can't do that thing where you're like super far away and never put yourself in danger. You have to get in there and get your hands dirty. It even specifically says that hacker operators are generally in much better physical shape than like corpo hackers, because they have to physically fight at locations and shit and get their hands dirty.
I love yes, I'm a nerd, but I also have a six-pack.
Yes, I'm fucking jacked. It's like Lucy and Cyberpunk could fight really well too, right? Like same kind of idea. I literally did the guy in the chair thing the little bit of time that I played Shadowrun, because my character was a technomancer, which means that you interface with the shadow net thingy
right.
with your brain. You don't actually have a cyber deck. You're like a data mage. It's fucking sick.
That is an interesting idea on how you would get that to work in like an elegant way. Like how to be the guy in the chair and have it not feel boring. Like I'm sure Shadowrun does it, but I don't. Is it effective? I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I imagine.
No, because your character just gets insulated from any and all danger is basically what happens.
Yeah. And you can't do the like, they're tracking my location every 2 minutes, or else you just kind of seem like a shitty hacker.
Yep. So that's kind of the general tone. What was cyberspace like? How do nodes work? What is the access and stuff? So the typography, basically, like I said, virtual spaces take on the idiom chosen by the network's owner. So if you go into a building and the owner of the network is really into D&D, he might design the visuals of his company network to be wizards and warriors running around fighting dragons and shit. The actual space, quote unquote, the space that is the network, operates via nodes, and nodes are physical objects or groups of objects that exist in the real world and then mirror in the node. Nodes are then linked by connections. So for example, a camera has a connection to a main security terminal. So like the camera would be the node, and then the connection line would be how you get from the camera to the security terminal, would be jumping from one node to the other node. And then people in cyberspace move around via avatars, which of course means your avatar can look like whatever you want, which of course means you're going to meet a lot of anthropomorphic dog and cat people in cyberspace, I'm sure.
Look, IT furries, man, they do be a thing.
Yeah, IT furries. This game does not do the thing where cyberspace is faster than meat space, which I'm kind of happy about, because that's always a pain in the ass to track.
What, like, you know, the hacker gets to do things for like 2 hours and then actually no time has shifted?
Yeah, so like, for example, I think in Cyberpunk Red, you can do 3 cyber actions during the time of 1 physical meat action.
Meat action?
I think they literally called a meat action.
I'm sure they do.
So in Cities Without Number, cyberspace actions are not faster than physical actions. So the hacker character has to choose to split their actions between physical and cyber. So you can't do some hacking and then shoot somebody. You gotta pick one or the other for your turn. Which again, I'm kind of okay with. Because the tracking the faster element is almost always a pain in the ass. In terms of actually connecting to a network or to cyberspace, the game says like there are some virtual locations that you can get to anywhere in the city that are like public hangout spaces, but they don't hold any relevant data, obviously. To get to the good stuff, you need to physically connect to a device. So if you're trying to get to the data storage of a building, you have to physically go to the building and connect to a node and move to find the data storage. You can wirelessly connect to things if you are within 30 meters of a device and you have line of sight. You can try to like hack into a thing from 30 meters away. So for example, you can move up on like the security camera, move within 30 feet of it, and then hack into it. You're at a -2 for all your actions because wireless is not as reliable, and you cannot go to other connected nodes if you attach wirelessly. Also, you are always aware of your physical surroundings while you're jacked in. So you're not like a comatose idiot while you're jacked into something.
They did allow for that kind of narrative though with one of the combat stims. It's called
yes.
Oh God, what the hell is it called? At the very end of the list. Window. There we go.
That's the one where you just zone out completely.
Yeah, it makes you like a super good hacker, but like, you know, you're
conked.
Yeah, pretty much.
Then we have access. So your access score is like, I was a little confused what this was at first. Access is basically like an ammo counter in a way. It's like how many actions you can pull off before you're sort of out of ammo, quote unquote. That's basically what access is. And the narrative, the like fictional description is that if you're in a network for too long, no matter how good you are, eventually the network's just going to come down on you and kick you out no matter what. Then we get to programs, and programs are really the main meat and potatoes to hacking this game. You can basically think of programs like the hacker's spell list. Like a wizard has their spells, the hacker has their programs. The way it works is programs have two versions. They have verbs and subjects. You combine a verb with a subject to design your program and what it will target. So for example, if you take the verb glitch and add the subject drone, that will allow you to run the glitch program on a drone to shut down the drone for a period of time. Once you have your program figured out, you make an int program check against the security DC of the network. That's basically your spell check to see if it succeeds or not. So I'm underselling it a little bit, but basically the idea is you mix and match these verb subject things, combine them together to be like, all right, bypass door, glitch drone, fucking analyze avatar, blind avatar, decrypt data file. Like you smack the two words together to get your program action.
That's kind of why I love it though, right? Because again, it's simple, but it's really evocative. It lets you do almost exactly what you want to do at any given time.
Yes. There are some limitations. So like the game will tell you what kind of targets you can hit. So like append, for example, the verb append can only target data type targets. So you can't append door because a door is a device, not data. And also like most of them are logical. So you can activate a device or you can activate cyber, but you can't activate data. Right, which is fairly logical. So most of them will make sense. Like, okay, append is for data. Yeah, what the fuck would append door doesn't mean anything anyway, so I'm not going to try that anyway. But there are technically restrictions.
I love the idea. So if you think about append, right, to append is to add something on. So I just love the idea of door. Append door, and a door just pops up. You're just breaking reality.
Yeah. I have appended a door.
You just do the no, son. It just goes out.
Then there's a brief page on like hacking mechanics, which is basically 2 pages that summarize the main things you do while you are in cyberspace, which is a very good reference sheet. I'm glad they added it because I'm sure people are going to use it a lot. In terms of the programs themselves, you can only run programs while you are in cyberspace, with the exception of cyber, drone, and transmission programs, which is to basically say you can hack a drone, you can hack somebody's cyberware, and you can transmit data while not in cyberspace. So again, very logical which ones you can and can't do outside of cyberspace.
That would be really goofy if you had to be in cyberspace to send an email.
To transfer data? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I need to send an email, guys. Hold on, I gotta check in.
Yeah, just... are we gonna do something about him? Your Decker's just unconscious on the floor. It's like, apparently he's filing his tax.
He's filing, yeah. Then all the programs, like I said, have an access cost. Actually, I misspoke a little bit before. I said access is like ammo. It's more like effort. Do you remember how effort worked for psychics in Stars Without Number, where you commit effort for a certain period of time. That's kind of how access works, because you commit a point of access, and then for some of the programs, that point of access you've committed is permanent, and for some of them, it goes away as soon as you stop running that program. So it's basically like the effort mechanic. When you run a program, you have to do a skill check against the security, whatever the security DC is, which will vary depending on the network that you're hacking into. If something is, if it's Renraku headquarters, it's going to be a little harder to hack into. Skill check will be a little higher. Skill DC will be a little higher, I should say. If you fail, you've wasted the action and the access point. Your spell fails. Programs will always take up 1 point of CPU, which is what the access thing is while they're running. And like I said, sometimes it'll turn off. A hacker can write up their... So when you acquire programs, you can buy them. Basically, you're buying, a data protocol, essentially, or like a data chip with information on it. You can buy them, but they can be a little expensive. If you don't want to buy them, a hacker with skill... I think you have to have skill 0 in... No, you have to... Let's see. You have to have program 1 to make your own programs. Program 1 skill to make your own programs. And you can maintain a certain number of programs that you have created on your own based on your program skill level. And there is the Hacker Edge will also give you extra programs you can make yourself. Similar to basically programs when you make them, it's similar to when an engineer mods things. You have to maintain, you can only maintain so many. Same idea. You can, and this I liked a lot, you can also specialize your programs to specific targets. So the example it gives is like a specialized subject is more focused. So instead of saying the cyber subject, it might say nerve cyber subject. And then if you target somebody's nerve-based cyberware with that program, you get a +1. And then there's unique subjects that you can do. So instead of being nerve cyber subject, it might be enhanced reflexes 1 subject, or instead of flying drone target, it might be the Xiaowen Phoenix subject. So you're getting even more specific, and that you can add a +2 to. So basically, if you go in and get some extra deets, extra like dirt on your mission, you can make specialized programs for that specific mission, which I think is especially cool because then it rewards you for, scouting the area out.
Yeah, I mean, I love any system that gives you rewards for thinking ahead, right? Like, now don't get me wrong, I really like this, and this is kind of related, the like Blades in the Dark flashback system where it's like, we don't have to do that work because we let you do it in the middle, but I do really appreciate when it's like, like Lancer does this, right? When you go
mechanical rewards for doing the work.
Yeah. Well, so that's one of the best parts about Lancer's, what do they call them? Not resources, the reserves. Is you go, our next mission, we're going to be going through a corpo building to steal our mechs back. Okay, you go, okay, cool. I'm going to go buy a couple of reserves that will help me for hacking. Now you're thinking ahead, and now that will directly help you. Or if you're like, well, we used a bunch of ammo in the last fight, I'm going to get extra ammo, more core bonus stuff like that.
Right.
Always a fan.
Yeah.
Because
reward
this is me.
For some good planning.
This is literally me. I'm this character. I'm the, you know what? We're going into a dungeon. I'm just going to start bringing bombs.
I mean, yes. But I think the other thing that's important too about a mechanic like that is not only is it like it's rewarding you for planning ahead, but it's also giving you concrete Like the game itself is giving players concrete benefits and reasons to do it, as opposed to like D&D, where if the players go out of their way and make a bunch of plans ahead of time, you as the GM have to kind of figure out how that's going to help them, right? Like there's not always an obvious mechanical benefit. Whereas in this scenario, it's like, okay, we know that the guy flying the defense drones is using Xiaowen Phoenix drones. So if you can make a couple of programs for those drones, that'll help a lot. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Obviously you can't specialize verbs. You can't specialize verb programs because it's an action, right? So you can't specialize an action any further, really. Then it gives you the list of cyberspace actions. So just like when you're fighting in combat where you have a couple of specific actions, you have cyberspace actions. Alert the network, jack in, jack out, move nodes, crash shutdown, which is basically the admin just shuts everything down, copy file, delete file, issue command, run a program, terminate a program. They all basically do what they sound like. They either cost you a main action or a move action. They work just like using actions in combat. Again, similar to the vehicles and the drones, this game does not use any weird special functionality for what you're doing when you're hacking. You are still, at the end of the day, operating within the core turn-based combat system. It's all flowing back into that main system. There is also a full page to give you an example of hacking, of how it actually works, in case you're confused. I didn't even bother reading the example because once I got through the hacking section, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I get this. You know,
no,
like,
yeah, I mean, it's. I don't have much to add because I'm, but no, yeah, it's evocative. It doesn't necessarily need the big, page-long exploration. If you're thinking about it actively, you're going to go, oh, and I could do it like this. Oh, but then if they do this, I can counter with this. It flows. You're good. Read it if you need it, but I don't think you will. I think most people will be fine.
Then now you might say, all right, well, so I'm doing this hacking thing, and I get if I'm going up against the network, I might need to, open doors, delete files and stuff like that. What's gonna resist me as the hacker? That's where you have demons and watchdogs. Demons are just automated programs in a network. I think they call them, in Shadowrun they're called ICE, right? Or in
right? So in Cyberpunk they're also called demons.
In Cyberpunk, they're called demons. I think they're called ICE in Shadowrun. I'm pretty sure.
No, ICE is also that's also a Cyberpunk name. ICE and Black ICE are.
I was right. ICE, yeah, intrusion countermeasure. ICE are matrix constructs designed to detain and possibly kill deckers. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm not crazy. In Shadowrun, they're called ICE.
Yeah, in Cyberpunk, they're also called ICE. It stands for intrusion countermeasure electronics.
That's what I just said.
You said Shadowrun, not Cyberpunk.
I know, but I'm saying they're also like. Never mind. But there's a distinction between demons and ICE in Cyberpunk?
Yes. Yeah. So a demon is a. Well, no. Demons are arguably subsections of ICE. You get like. Black ICE is where usually you get demons. The difference is that like a demon is not just a computer virus. It's sort of like a sentient AI computer virus, or not sentient, but it's like an aggressive AI that's trying to give you a virus.
You can't use demon in Shadowrun to refer to hacking things because there's actual physical demons in Shadowrun. So that would get confusing. Anyway, so demons are basically, they're automated programs that go into the network. They can take on whatever form. You got different types of demons: Tripwire, Mastiff, Siren, Cataphract, Ogre, Headsman, Hydra, and Nemesis. basically they run down a list of command lines in a specific order, and they are limited on how many program lines they can run. The game describes it as like they're just not smart enough to keep running program after program.
Mm-hmm.
They have an HP pool and a skill bonus like any other NPC that you might fight does. Once you hit them, the main like attack program is stun avatar. Once you stun avatar a demon, you frag them. Once they're fragged, they're gone. They'll regenerate in like an hour. It's pretty straightforward. The player runs into them. The demon executes whatever command lines they have. So, for example, it gives you a list of common demon programming. So, if the player runs into a bouncer type demon, or a demon that's programmed to act as a bouncer, I should say, it says run the stun avatar against any intruders until they have been knocked unconscious or offline. Perform the alert network action when an intruder has been repelled if it isn't already alerted. That's it. You just follow, and then it gives you common command lines. So it's like run terminate program against X, Y, or Z, run paralyze avatar against this, run lock barrier, run whatever. They're really automated NPCs.
I mean, I think it's worth bringing up like the different classifications of demon because I think they're really fun. You have bouncer, patroller, gatekeeper, shield bearer, repairman, trapper, and executioner.
Yeah, those are like the types of programming that they have. That's
fun.
not the demon itself. That's the type of programming the demon can have.
Right. Sorry.
Because the demon itself are the tripwire, the mastiff, the siren, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But either way, yeah. Basically, as a GM, it's really easy. You just go, what kind of demon is it? It's this one? Okay, he does this. Real simple. And then you have watchdogs, which are just counter hackers. They're just NPC hackers. They follow the exact same rules in cyberspace as the PC does, with the obvious exception that the security of the network is on their team, right? So if you're hacking into the enemy building and then you run into a watchdog, obviously the barriers are going to let the watchdog through and not let you through.
I could see a really fun subsection of play for this game where you play as like a hacker squad. Like everyone hacks. That could be a really fun, like sort of mini campaign.
And then lastly in the hacking stuff is network servers and architecture. So like, how do you as the GM actually set this up? It's pretty easy, actually. A lot easier than some other games. You have a basic sketch of the area, right? So like a floor plan, like, all right, they're in this company building. And then you circle any devices that could be hacked / any devices that act as a node. So, you know, cameras, mechanical doors, like I don't know, fucking shield wall or something. Anything that you think could reasonably be a node. Once you determine the nodes, you pick what type of server this building is running, or this floor is running potentially if there's multiple servers in the building. So like if it's a beta server, it can have 15 nodes max and 2 barriers max and then 3 demons max. Once you've determined, okay, I know what kind of server it is. The server has, in terms of programs that the server could potentially run, it's pretty much unlimited. Once you've chosen the server, you draw the connections between the nodes and make sure that the count, you know, how many you have based on the nodes, is good. You go, cool. Draw connections between them. Then you place and determine your barriers, your demons, and your data files. Again, based on how many the server could potentially have. And then you set a DC, like a general DC for the security based on, you know, how difficult you think this particular network should be. Just because you set a DC doesn't mean it can't adjust from node to node either. So like set an appropriate base security difficulty for the network using the table on page 94. Individual networks or nodes might vary from this based on their importance or the skill of their maintainers. So like, you know, the node, the server for the first floor is like DC 8 or whatever, but the server for the next floor down in the basement is like DC 10 because that's where they keep the more important data. So it's not like one building has to have the same DC all the way through or whatever. And that's it. That's hacking. You know, I summarize some stuff, like once you read what all the different programs and stuff do, that'll take you some time or whatever. But like, yeah, that's hacking. Like it's a meaty chunk of the book, like relative to the other mechanics in the game. It is a reasonably meaty chunk, but it's not deeply esoteric or weirdly confusing. It's pretty intuitive,
elegant,
and yeah. And reading through it definitely made me want to play a hacker in this game. So if I read your hacking rules and I'm like, yes, I would like to use that, you're doing good.
True.
And that's where we're gonna stop for today. We will get to the GM half of things next week, because there are actually a decent amount of notable changes on the GM side of things. Little different tact that he took with this game, which I kind of understand because the sandbox of a Cyberpunk game is the city as opposed to like a world map or a space sector. So you come at it a little bit differently.
Honestly, I hadn't actually thought about that, and I hadn't looked at the GM section because I assumed it would have been essentially the same, but I will actually do that now.
I would say, I mean, a lot of it's, there's a lot of advice and stuff and like how to make NPCs and stuff. That's all in a similar realm, but there are elements that are different, like how to handle NPCs is a little bit different. Missions, it gives you a whole how to build missions, because obviously missions are the core, the core structure of the Cyberpunk genre, as opposed to just like an adventure or just like a planet for you to land on. Mm-hmm. You may also notice no faction turn.
I did not notice that, but now that you mentioned it.
Yeah. No faction turn. So we'll get to that also. Cities without number. I think I know the answer, but I mean, like, you would play this, yeah?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you if I'd rather do this first or Cyberpunk Red, but this is definitely the fact that I don't know which one I'd want to play first. It tells you something.
True. Yeah. I probably would lean towards Cities Without Number, but that's also kind of because I'm like more familiar with it too.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, tis been us. Tis been us something. Follow us or don't on the social medias. Be free, live your life. I'm not your mom.
Yeah. Sorry for the low energy this week, y'all. Like I said, we are particularly fucking exhausted.
I don't feel like I was that low energy.
I was low energy. I'm tired as shit.
Okay, well, my throat is still tired, so that tells me I couldn't have been that low energy.
No, I mean, like, usually we're like laughing like idiots and tangenting every 10 minutes. We were actually, I think that's really this topic. That I think that's
we tangented quite a bit.
Not that bad. Not in comparison to the fucking Kane episode. We were all over the place on that one.
Well, there may have been another reason for that.
Fair. Look, I think when we are low energy, we're very on topic, I think is the takeaway.
I guess.
It's not a bad thing.
Sure. I have no follow-up. Eat your vegetables.
don't wanna.